Welcome to our channel. Today we turn our attention to Europe, a continent shaped not only by its rich history and diverse cultures, but also by the indomitable forces of nature. From the volcanic landscapes of Iceland to the rolling plains of the East, Europe has witnessed its share of natural disasters that have left an indelible mark on its people and its landscape. Over the centuries, earthquakes have shattered cities, floods have reshaped coastlines, and plagues have swept across nations, leaving devastation in their wake. These events, however tragic, serve as stark reminders of the power of the natural world and the importance of understanding and respecting its forces. Join us now as we journey across Europe, exploring 10 of the most significant natural disasters in its history. We'll delve into the science behind these events, their devastating impacts, and the lessons learned that continue to shape our understanding of the world around us. The year is 1346. A shadow falls over Europe, a darkness carried not by storm clouds but by a deadly disease. The Black Death, a bubonic plague pandemic, arrives on European shores carried by rat-infested ships from the east. Imagine medieval cities, bustling with trade, suddenly transformed into ghost towns. The plague, spread by fleas, moved swiftly, its victims suffering agonizing symptoms, swollen lymph nodes, fever and blackening of the skin. Fear gripped the continent. With no known cure, people were helpless against the disease's relentless advance. Doctors, clad in beak-like masks, could offer little comfort. Mass graves became a common sight as entire communities succumbed to the plague. From Italy to England, the Black Death ravaged the continent for nearly 5 years. By the time it subsided, it had claimed an estimated 25 million lives, nearly a third of Europe's population. The Black Death's impact extended far beyond its immediate death toll. It shattered economies, decimated social structures, and left a scar on the European psyche that would linger for centuries. The early 14th century, a time of relative prosperity for Europe, took a sharp turn with the onset of a devastating climatic anomaly. The year 1315 marked the beginning of the Great Famine, a period of relentless rainfall and unseasonably cold temperatures that would grip the continent for 7 long years. Imagine endless fields, once bursting with grain, now transformed into muddy swamps. Crops failed across Europe, from the wheat fields of France to the rye fields of Russia. The breadbasket of Europe ran dry. Hunger became a constant companion. People resorted to eating whatever they could find, roots, bark, even grass. As food became increasingly scarce, prices soared, pushing even the wealthy to the brink. The famine had a devastating impact on livestock as well. Without adequate food or fodder, cattle, sheep and oxen perished, further crippling agricultural production. The once familiar sounds of livestock were replaced by an eerie silence. The Great Famine, a stark reminder of humanity's vulnerability to the whims of nature, led to widespread starvation, disease, and social unrest. It serves as a chilling example of how quickly abundance can turn to scarcity in the face of environmental upheaval. Lisbon, 1755. All Saints' Day. The city, a vibrant hub of the Portuguese Empire, bustles with activity, but on this fateful morning the earth awakens with a fury rarely seen. A series of powerful tremors, estimated to be around 8.5 to 9 on the Richter scale, ripped through Lisbon. Buildings swayed violently, then crumbled, burying countless souls beneath their rubble. The air filled with the deafening roar of collapsing structures and the terrified screams of its citizens. As the earth settled, a new horror emerged, a tsunami. Towering waves, some reaching heights of 30 feet, crashed into the harbor, tossing ships like toys and inundating the city's waterfront. Those who had survived the earthquake now faced a watery grave. The devastation didn't end there. Fires, ignited by overturned candles and collapsing chimneys, raged through the city, consuming what the earthquake and tsunami had spared. Lisbon, once a symbol of European prosperity, lay in ruins. The Lisbon earthquake, one of the deadliest in history, claimed an estimated 60,000 lives and left a profound impact on European thought and philosophy. It forced people to confront the reality of natural disasters and question the nature of God and human suffering. April 26, 1986. In the early hours of the morning, a routine safety test at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Soviet Ukraine goes horribly wrong. A sudden surge of power leads to a catastrophic explosion, ripping apart reactor number 4 and releasing a plume of radioactive material into the atmosphere. Imagine a blinding flash of light, followed by a deafening roar. The concrete and steel structure of the reactor, designed to contain immense power, is breached, spewing forth invisible but deadly radiation. The nearby city of Pripyat, home to many of the plant's workers and their families, is initially unaware of the disaster unfolding just miles away. But as the invisible enemy spreads, carried by the wind, the true horror of the situation becomes clear. Evacuation orders are issued, but it's already too late for many. The invisible poison seeps into the environment, contaminating soil, water, and air. A cloud of radioactive material drifts across Europe, leaving a legacy of fear and uncertainty in its wake. The Chernobyl disaster, the worst nuclear accident in history, exposed the world to the terrifying consequences of unchecked technological advancement and the long-lasting impact of radiation exposure. The summer of 2003 will forever be etched in the memories of Europeans as a time of relentless heat and scorching temperatures. From the vineyards of France to the forests of Portugal, the continent baked under an unforgiving sun. Imagine cities transformed into furnaces, asphalt melting underfoot, and air conditioners struggling to cope with the unrelenting heat. Parks and gardens, once havens of coolness, offered little respite from the oppressive temperatures. The heat wave, the most severe in recorded European history, had a devastating impact on human health. Hospitals overflowed with patients suffering from heat stroke, dehydration, and respiratory problems. The elderly and vulnerable were particularly hard hit. The agricultural sector also suffered catastrophic losses. Crops withered and died in the fields, vineyards produced shriveled grapes, and forests became tinderboxes vulnerable to the slightest spark. The economic impact of the heatwave was felt across the continent. The 2003 European heatwave served as a stark warning of the potential consequences of climate change. It highlighted the vulnerability of human societies and ecosystems to extreme weather events and the urgent need for adaptation and mitigation measures. The night of January 31st, 1953, a powerful storm, driven by a combination of high tides and fierce winds, surged across the North Sea, catching many coastal communities in its path completely off guard. Imagine a wall of water, towering over seawalls, crashing down on unsuspecting towns and villages. Homes, businesses, and entire neighborhoods were swallowed by the relentless surge. The Netherlands, with its low-lying land and intricate system of dikes and dams, bore the brunt of the storm's fury. Thousands of homes were destroyed, and vast swathes of farmland were inundated with salt water, poisoning crops and livestock. Across the North Sea, the east coast of England also faced the devastating power of the storm surge. Coastal towns and villages, ill-prepared for such an event, were overwhelmed. Seawalls crumbled and homes were swept away. The North Sea flood of 1953, one of the deadliest natural disasters in modern European history, claimed over 2,500 lives and left a trail of destruction in its wake. It served as a stark reminder of the raw power of the sea and the importance of coastal defenses. In April 2010, the Eyjafjallajökull volcano, nestled beneath the glaciers of Iceland, roared to life after nearly 2 centuries of slumber. A plume of ash and steam soared into the atmosphere, reaching heights that disrupted air travel across Europe and beyond. Imagine a spectacle both mesmerizing and terrifying. Molten lava cascading down the volcano's slopes, illuminating the night sky with an eerie glow. Above, a vast cloud of ash billows skyward, carried by prevailing winds towards mainland Europe. As the ash cloud spread, it brought European air travel to a standstill. Flights were grounded, airports were shut down, and millions of travelers found themselves stranded, their plans disrupted by the unpredictable forces of nature. The economic impact of the eruption was significant, impacting industries reliant on air travel, from tourism to manufacturing. The ash cloud served as a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of global systems and the ripple effects of natural disasters. The Eyjafjallajökull eruption, though disruptive, also offered a glimpse into the awe-inspiring power of volcanic activity and its ability to reshape landscapes and impact global systems. December 1952. London, usually shrouded in fog, finds itself engulfed in a different kind of haze, a suffocating blanket of smog. A combination of industrial pollution, cold weather, and an anticyclone conspired to trap a deadly cocktail of smoke and fog over the city. Imagine a city cloaked in a thick yellowish-black smog, so dense that visibility was reduced to a few feet. Streetlights were rendered useless, and residents navigated their neighborhoods by touch and sound. The air, heavy with sulfur dioxide and particulate matter, became increasingly difficult to breathe. Hospitals overflowed with patients suffering from respiratory problems, their coughs echoing through the smog-choked streets. The elderly and those with pre-existing respiratory conditions were particularly vulnerable. The death toll rose steadily, a grim testament to the lethal combination of industrial pollution and meteorological conditions. The Great Smog of London, a defining moment in the city's history, claimed thousands of lives and served as a wake-up call to the dangers of unchecked industrial pollution and the urgent need for clean air regulations. High in the Italian Alps, nestled amidst the towering peaks, stood the Vajont Dam, an engineering marvel and a symbol of human ambition. But on October 9, 1963, this symbol of progress would become synonymous with tragedy. Imagine a serene mountain lake, its surface reflecting the surrounding peaks. But beneath this tranquil facade, a disaster was brewing, a massive landslide, triggered by heavy rainfall and geological instability, sent millions of cubic meters of rock and earth crashing into the reservoir behind the dam. The impact created a wave of unimaginable size, a towering wall of water that surged over the dam's crest, engulfing the valley below. The village of Longarone, nestled in the path of the wave, was obliterated in an instant. The wave, carrying with it the debris of the landslide and the shattered remnants of Longarone, continued its rampage down the valley, destroying everything in its path. The force of the water was so powerful that it carved out new channels and reshaped the landscape. The Vajont Dam disaster, a chilling reminder of the unforgiving power of nature and the potential consequences of human miscalculation, claimed over 2,000 lives and left a scar on the Italian landscape that serves as a stark warning for generations to come. In the spring of 2013, a series of heavy rainfall events across Central Europe led to widespread flooding, impacting countries along the Danube and Elbe rivers and their tributaries. From Germany to Hungary, communities braced for the worst as rivers swelled to record levels. Imagine rivers, usually calm and picturesque, transformed into raging torrents, their waters spilling over banks and inundating towns and cities. Homes, businesses and infrastructure were swallowed by the rising floodwaters. The scale of the flooding was immense, impacting millions of people and causing billions of euros in damage. Historic cities, their streets transformed into canals, faced the daunting task of rebuilding and recovery. Emergency services worked tirelessly to evacuate residents, reinforce flood defenses, and provide aid to those affected. The spirit of resilience and cooperation shone through as communities came together to support each other in the face of adversity. The 2013 European floods served as a stark reminder of the vulnerability of human societies to the impacts of climate change, particularly the increasing frequency and intensity of extreme weather events like heavy rainfall and flooding. As we've journeyed across Europe, witnessing the devastating impacts of natural disasters, we're reminded of the delicate balance that exists between humanity and the natural world. From plagues to earthquakes, floods to volcanic eruptions, these events have shaped the continent's history, leaving behind lessons learned and stories of resilience. While we can't control the forces of nature, we can strive to understand them better, to prepare for their impacts, and to build more resilient societies. By learning from past disasters, we can work towards a future where the human impact on the planet is one of respect and harmony, rather than conflict. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Europe's top 10 natural disasters. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to spread awareness about the power of nature and the importance of disaster preparedness.